Hello everyone. In my last video, I said that in the future, I might do an archer build using only unique items. After seeing people agree with this idea in the comments, I decided to try it. Now before we look at the items, we're going to look at the stats. And we're going to start with the offensive stats like I always do. And therefore, we're going to start with damage, which is at 17k, pushing 18k. Now, obviously, before the update, the target for Fatal Bridge was around 18k, so to see that we've got to 17k here is obviously a good sign. I think I've only used about 1 or 2 damage gems and my passive skill tree is unchanged from the last video, so this is obviously a really good sign. However, you look down to armor pen and you realize that it's at 22%, which is the lowest I've ever seen in one of my builds with a decently high level character. Now, if you look at the items, which we're going to be looking at next, you'll realize I don't think there's any specific armor pen stats. I think all of this armor pen comes from my passive skill tree, and as a result, it is very low. Critical rate is at 94%, which is obviously really good. It's very close to the 95 range. You might want it a little bit higher if you're trying to get the adaptation passive to boost it to 100%, but with some potions, this should go up. Critical severity is at 151%, which is pretty low. Again, I think there's very minimal critical severity stats on my items, if any at all. Again, this might all come from my passive skill tree, but as you can see here, the kind of simple base stats, you know, your damage, your critical rate, are really high, but then your more specific specialist stats like armor pen and critical severity are really low. So it'll be really interesting to see how that works in Fatal Bridge. Obviously, we're going to be using potions, which should boost this. Now we're going to be looking at the defensive stats, and we're going to start with health, and it's really low again. It's 46k. I think it's the same as my last build in my last video. Again, I've not really put anything into health. There's no gems, so it remains low. Energy shield, there's nothing there. Health regen, it's not something I look at. Defense is again the same as last video, it's 69%. You might want this a little bit higher, but this is okay. Block rate is 99.5%. Now, considering the potions I'm going to be using when going into Fatal Bridge, this basically will go up to 100%, which is obviously really, really good. This means that basically every hit that you take should take into account some block severity, which is quite nice. And obviously, you're going to be less likely to die if you have obviously 100% block rate. Block severity is at 59%, so it has gone down from my previous build. Again, I don't think there's any specific block severity stats on my character, so obviously that's defense. And compared to my last video, my last build, although health has stayed the same, defense has stayed the same, the big improvement has come in block rate, which I guess will be 100% when I go into Fatal Bridge. Block severity has gone down, but overall, I'd argue this build is slightly more defensively better, which is to be expected with unique items. They're usually really balanced. Now we're going to be looking at the items that got me those stats in the first place, and as you can see, I've used a combination of the Samurai set and the Silent Nightmare set and the rings that I used in my previous video. I'm a bit disappointed with what the devs have done with the Samurai set. Before the update, it was the best set in the game. The set bonuses were really, really useful. Now, not so much. The main stats are the same, critical rate, block rate, damage, but they've taken away a set bonus, which is obviously not great. But I've decided to use it for this video. I was originally going to use a completely Silent Nightmares build, but I couldn't get the helmet, so I've gone with Samurai set instead. You'll see that for my gem slots, I've basically used all block rate, which is probably why my block rate is so high. I think there's a few. I think there's a damage gem in there as well. I think I ran out of block rate gems and I couldn't be bothered to make any more. So yeah, obviously I've used the same rings as my last video, so I get some passive abilities there too. But the Silent Nightmares set I think is quite cool. I think obviously it lacks some specific stats, but overall I think it's alright. So those are the items. I'm also using the immunity rune and the ferocity rune. The ferocity rune in particular is really important because it basically raises my critical severity, which obviously, as you saw in the stats, wasn't very high. We're going to go straight into the Fatal Bridge gameplay. If you want to see my passive skill tree, check out my last video. So as you saw there, I wasn't able to complete Fatal Bridge as I did last video. I ended up dying in the 190 region. And I guess after that run, I have a few comments. I think the first one is, overall, I felt defensively better. Despite the fact that I died, I did feel defensively better, which isn't surprising considering I had 100% block rate. However, I think the problem with this build is the fact that my armor pen and critical severity were really low, and so towards the end, when the elite mobs, the elite enemies with decent defense spawned, despite the fact that I had enough mana to spam multi-shot for a bit, they just weren't dying, and so they were able to stun me and basically trap me. And I think that shows that although you don't need armor pen and critical severity to be too high, you do need them to be decent enough because they do pierce through enemy defense. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.